Such a pleasure to meet you. I'm Alex, and I'm so grateful to be here today. I really think that your work is so interesting and it's very related to kind of what I do and what I'm interested in. So the market, there's a lot of books and guides out there on the crisis in parent-child relationship. Why did you and Dr. Gordon Newfeld decide to write this book, Dr. Mate? What makes it different from all the other books?
Well, internationally, the mental health of children is getting worse. More and more children are being diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and attention problems, behavior problems. Bullying has become a big problem internationally. And in general, parents have been feeling for a long time that they've lost control, that they've lost the ability to guide their children, to pass their values on to them. And people think that the problem is with children's behavior or their mental health, but they don't see that the fundamental problem is actually in the relationship between adults and children. So that how human beings evolved over millions of years is that children grew up around the adults and in the presence of adults and under the guidance of adults. And in modern society, that has been lost. And so, and then people think there's something wrong with the kids, but not seeing that what they think is wrong with the kids is actually wrong with the relationship. So we wanted to put the relationship between adults and kids back in the center where it belongs, and to show them how modern society undermines that relationship, and that if we're going to help our children, we have to restore that relationship. So that's what we wrote the book.
I'm not actually aware of other literature on the child-parent relationship. Most of the literature is on how to parent and not the relationship between parent and child, which actually creates the context for raising a child. But more specifically to your question, whatever literature there is tends to focus on the relationship of the parent to the child, just as in your question, parent-child relations, and not child-parent relations, which is often the invisible part of it, the part that we do not realize. The child needs to be attached to us in order for us to get our love and caring through, just as the fetus needs to be attached through the umbilical cord. The child needs to be attached. This creates the external womb. So the book is quite distinctive in this focus and in isolating the bottom line, that it is a bottom-up relationship. No matter how loving and caring we are, no matter how perfect we may or may not be, children need to be attached to the parents. And so parents need to make that relatively easy and make sure they do not parent in ways that sabotage or undermine that relationship.
Yeah. And what do you think is the main message that needs to be conveyed to parents? So obviously it's in the title, but could you please elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, by holding on to your kids, we're not meaning to grasp or hold back, but to take responsibility for the relationship, and specifically to take responsibility for the child's attachment to the parent, to make it easy for them to attach deeply and vulnerably, as again, as I said, this is the context in which we were meant to be raised. In former times, this was undoubtedly the role of culture, but for the most part, we have lost that culture. Society has become incredibly materialized, monetized, and so the customs and traditions that would make sure that children were attached to those responsible for their care is just not there. So in today's society, parents have an extra responsibility of actually making sure that they tend to, that they preserve the connection, so that children don't have to be preoccupied with that part or go look to see their relational needs met elsewhere.
Parents love their kids, and they have the responsibility to raise their kids in a healthy way. But unless the relationship is there, the love does not get through. And unless the relationship is there, their responsibility cannot be fulfilled, because it all depends on the relationship. And just because we're the parents, it doesn't guarantee our ability to make our children feel loved or make our children follow our guidance. So that it's like the umbilical cord. When a woman is pregnant and carrying the baby, the nutrition gets from the mother's body to the baby's body through the umbilical cord. But the umbilical cord has to be attached to the baby. And we've lost that attachment in this society. So all the love doesn't get through, all the guidance doesn't get through, because the relationship, that attachment relationship, is the key. And we've forgotten that. So that what our book aims to do is to help parents restore that attachment relationship with the child.
Yes. And obviously, one of the main highlights of the book is that peer influence has replaced parental authority. So why do you think that is? Weren't friends important before, especially for teenagers?
I'll start with the last part of your question. The problem is not with children having friends or with interacting with their peers. If you look at it in terms of a partnership or couple or partner, it's not with your partner having all kinds of other attachments. It's whether those attachments take them out of orbit from around you and replace you. Then it becomes tantamount to an attachment affair. And this is the issue, not having friends, but in today's society, if we do not take responsibility, if we do not hold on to them, so to speak, that is, preserve the relationship, we're likely to lose them to their peers. They're pulled out of orbit from around the adults that are meant to be able to take care of them. And yes, that's equally true for our adolescents, because they still need us. They need the care we have. We're still their best bet for their relational needs, the invitation to exist in this world and in our presence for a sense of significance. They're not meant to take care of each other. A coupling will ultimately replace us in some way, not totally, but we're meant to take care of them, and we can't really take care of them unless we have their hearts. And so peers were not meant to replace parents in that sense. If anything is meant to replace parents, and that's only relatively speaking, in adolescence, it's their sense of self, not peers. If interaction with peers leads to losing themselves or losing us, then they're going to be hurting. They're going to be in relatively poor shape. Adolescents in today's society still need their parents to be there for them, and still need parents to do the heavy lifting when it comes to the relationship.
Well, authority doesn't come from it's not automatic. You know, you can have authority two ways. One is by being authoritarian, controlling, punishing, but that doesn't work if it makes things worse. Or you can have authority because the other person trusts you and respects you. And that's the kind of authority that the parents need to have. But for that, again, you need the relationship. So in the absence of the relationship, parents either give up or they become authoritarian, and neither works. So what we want is for our children to respect us and to receive our guidance and to receive our love. And again, that depends on a relationship. So teenagers in this culture have lost that relationship with their parents. And in the absence of the relationship with the parents, they turn to their peer group. So the peer group now has much more influence on children than the adults do, which is a disaster because the peer group is immature. So now you have immature creatures influencing each other. And what does that lead to? It leads to immaturity and all kinds of problems, aggression and bullying and sexual acting out and internet addiction, you know. So again, we're still talking about the relationship.
Mm. And obviously, in the heart of all your books is trauma, and the ways in which we cope, or rather fail to cope sometimes, with its effects. What damage can parents do to their children if they do not hold on to them? In what ways do these children's bodies say no now or later on? Do their behinds become more scattered, or do they seek salvation in addictions in the realm of hungry ghosts?
Well, addictions is always an attempt to soothe or soften some kind of pain. It's always that. So people are severely traumatized, they have a lot of pain. So they're much more likely to become addicted. Now, unfortunately, in our society, a lot of kids are becoming addicted even when they were not severely traumatized. Why? Because there's two ways that you can hurt kids. One is you can do bad things to them, like sexual, physical, emotional abuse and beatings, and or if they grow up in a home where there's addiction or alcoholism, or the parents are fighting all the time, or there's violence. So you can hurt kids that way, and they'll be much more likely to engage in addictions just to get away from the pain. But you can also hurt kids another way, not by doing bad things to them that you shouldn't, but by not meeting their needs. Now, the biggest need for the child is a secure, safe attachment relationship with the parents. So when the parents are not able to provide that, that child is hurt. Even though the parents love the child, but if they're too busy or too stressed or too traumatized or physically not available, emotionally not available, that child is still going to be hurt. If you look at addictions, most people begin addictions under the influence of their peers. So the less strong the relationship between parents and kids are, the stronger the relationship between the peers are, between kids. And now kids are very prone to take bad advice from their peers or to follow their peers. So if their peers are drinking, they're going to drink. If the peers are using drugs, they're going to use drugs. What drives the addiction is the pain of loss of love or loss of relationship, and what drives addiction is the influence of the peer group. And the two go together.
Relational needs are our dominant, preeminent need. The need to be liked, to be with, to belong, to matter, the need for love, the need for an invitation to exist in this world and in the presence of another. If we don't meet these needs, then they are likely to look to others to meet these needs, to be feeding at somebody else's table. And again, children weren't meant to take care of each other. That wasn't the way it was meant to be. We are their best bet. In addition, not only do they not feel cared for, our care doesn't get through, and so they end up to be quite starving. And that is the crisis of care today. The crisis of mental health is that children don't feel cared for, but we don't get to be we don't get to have the sense of fulfillment that comes from being the answer to another. So we all suffer in this way. In addition, as I talk about in the book, we simply don't have the power. The power doesn't come from knowledge. It comes from the child's attachment to us. The more the child attaches to us, the more they want to be good for us, the more they open up to our influence. So all the power we really have, the true power in parenting, comes not from our superiority in physical strength or in knowledge or in knowing what to do, but simply from their attachment to us. And if we lose that, we lose the ability to be their answers. We lose the fulfillment that comes from that, and they lose the caring that really can only come from us.
How do you envision proper parenting in the age of AI? Can you say something reassuring to people like me who are worried about their future, about the children, about their jobs, about their social status? It's unprecedented times that we live in at the moment.
Well, there's lots to worry about, that's for sure. I don't know how we can't be a little bit alarmed, but it doesn't change the basic needs of children. They're the same. And yes, we live in the age of information, and artificial intelligence gives us more information and in different ways. But that's not what we're really looking for. As adults, we too look for answers to our relational needs, for love, to matter, to be part of, to be on the same side, for likeness, for a sense of intimacy. All of these things have been with us for a very long time, for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. The brain hasn't changed, and our brains won't change just because we enter into the age of artificial intelligence. This part will remain the same for thousands of years from here. And so what children need is enough freedom from the relentless pursuit of contact and closeness. We are their best bet for giving their brain some respite for that search, so that they can rest from it, and the brain can get on with unfolding their potential to become all they were meant to be. This is basically the challenge of parenting. It always has been, and it always will be. So even though we may have other worries and concerns, it doesn't change the basic issues of the parent-child relationship.
Yeah. Well, in Hold On to Your Kids, we have 3 chapters on digital media. And it's highly addictive. It takes over the mind. And if you look at brain scans of young children who've been watching screens, their brains are different. The parts of their brain that support social relationships and insight, they don't develop so well. So it actually damages the brain. It's very addictive. To try and stop a teenager from using their social media is like trying to stop a drug addict from using their heroin. You get the same aggression, the same resentment, the same resistance. So the first thing is, if I was raising kids today, I wouldn't let them near a screen for years. I wouldn't even let them see a screen for years. Except maybe with the parents, if the grandparents live in one city and to see the grandparents on the Zoom call, that's okay. But I wouldn't let a kid have a cell phone, an iPhone, an iPad, not for years and years and years and years. As far as AI is concerned, look, I don't know much about it. I don't care much about it. It bores me. But I can tell you that it's a threat because, like any technology can be good, but it's a question of who's using it for what purpose. So, the internet can be a wonderful technology, or it can be used to spread lies and pornography and addictive games and so on. So it's not the technology, it's who's using it for one purpose. Do I trust the people that run the world today? Do I trust the billionaires who are developing AI? Not for 1 second. So I think it's going to be bad news. And people are already losing their jobs because now they can have AI do a lot of stuff that human beings used to do. So it's going to be a threat to human well-being, I think, under the present system.
And what about, are you thinking of writing a book called Hold On to Your Parents?
Well, no, I won't be writing such a book. And parents are for children, not children for parents. So we mustn't think, okay, I'll invest some time in caring for them so they will take care of me. That is not the way it goes. We are meant to be arranged in cascading care, and that cascading care should then also include our ancestors and our God if we have one. So we mustn't take care of them, as I said, so that they will take care of us. But yes, of course, if attachment is deep and fulfilling and both ways, when we lose our ability to function separately, especially in the physical and maybe in the intellectual arenas, are they more likely to step up to take care of us, to allow us to depend upon them? Yes, relationship is the answer to that. It's not simply a responsibility. When love is there, that enables will enable us to lean when the time comes as well.
It's going to be called Hello Again, a fresh start for adults, for parents and adult children.
So there is another book that you're writing.
Yeah, my son Daniel, who helped me write The Myth of Normal, him and I were going to write this book together called Hello Again, a fresh start for adults and for parents and adult children, because we see so many situations where parents and adult kids are not getting along or not understanding each other or full of pain and resentment. And I think it doesn't have to be that way, but it takes a lot of work today.
And do you think that if parents hold on to their children, does that imply that children will hold on to their parents when the time comes and when
I think that's the whole point.
that's the okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this title, Hold On to Your Kids, it's not the best title. In retrospect, we might have called it Keep Them Close, to keep them, and if the emotional relationship with the parents are working for the child, then when the child becomes an adult, it'll still work. So I think what we're looking at is the impact of parents losing that relationship, and then they're surprised and hurt when their kids, adult kids, don't respect them as much, or don't love them as much. So there's work to be done on both sides, because parents did do their best, and the adult kids may be full of bad feelings and resentment, but the parents still did their best, So there's work to be done on both sides, but if we had that close relationship to start with in a healthy way, there'd be no problem in the adult stage either.
But it's a great news that we're waiting for this book.
Yeah,
By the
well,
way, speaking of title of this book, the translation of Bulgarian book in
Yeah.
Bulgarian, to be correct, is stay close to your children. Yes. Thank you.
that I wish we had called that in English, but anyway.
Amazing. I think I saw the questions. If there's anything else that you'd like to say.
No, thank you. It's very nice to meet you both again, and good luck with the book.